and keynote speech. And we can continue our session. And in front of us, we have Gražvydas Šedys, who is going to talk about swinging OKRs to make sure Agile delivery makes a real impact. Gražvydas said he will present himself
I can
later.
do that. Yeah.
And at this moment, I'm just inviting you to speak and the audience to think about the questions. And questions provided on the spot, agreed?
No
or
problem.
online in our Hua. And then after the session, we will answer. Of course, depending on our time we have. So that's it. Now the floor is yours. Thanks. Yes. I will close. Yes, I will close.
Okay. Let the door open. Maybe someone, will come by just by going somewhere near. All right. Hello, everyone. Hi. As introduced, name is Gražvydas, and well, for quite some time, I've been working as an Agile Coach, as we like to call ourselves, basically a consultant, helping companies, teams to adopt various kinds of Agile frameworks and basically live the Agile mindset. So that's what Jürgen in the very beginning was telling about. It's not only methodologies and frameworks, but it's a mindset. Quite a lot of times when I go to the company, when I go to the client, I get questions like, can you help us, become agile? Can you help us with the transformation? Or we want to become more agile, or we're doing agile, help us be better, right? Usually, it starts, as a coach, I start with the usual questions coaches give. So why you want to do Agile, right? What is the goals you want to achieve, and so on and so far. So today, I'm gonna go very similar path. I'm gonna tell one specific story of myself being involved with one company. I just thought that it would be a great idea to illustrate it with a real life example. In the end, I will try to draw some key learnings. So now you're obliged to stay till the end if you wanna know, wanna get the learning points. So you're stuck here for a while. But naturally, I will go through some learning points throughout the presentation as well. All right, so let's begin, story time. And as a title says, usually, help us be more agile. But what is more agile? Which level we're looking for? So this is what I faced when I joined the company called MobilePay. Who heard of MobilePay, by the way? Can you? Oh, wow, that's a lot. Usually we're not that much invested in employer branding so far, so usually not that many hands comes up. But yeah, so I started to work with MobilePay, and basically when I came in there, I was asked to come to review the scale framework. Maybe something can be better, and so on. I just again did the cliche consultant things, asking why and all of those things, all of the questions that follows, and asked for a month of me going around the company, from the teams to the managers to various kind of departments, asking so what is cooking there, how it looks, what's going well, what's going not that well. So basically, what I found now, very few findings. First of all, I found really good Agile teams. In the development part of the company, really great Scrum teams. Well, close to Scrum, learnings there and then that could be done, but they were really good. They had good roadmaps, good product managers, running all of the Scrum events, and having rhythms and delivering at the end of the iterations and sprints. So that was going well. Who of you think you have really good Scrum teams, or close to Scrum, whatever, Agile teams? Who of you think you're pretty good at at the daily Agile things? All right, the front here, the back. Naturally sit further away, right? So just like no, don't touch me. All right. So this is what I found there. I also find things that weren't that good, right? I found that all of those teams were delivering really good things, really great products. They had, their backlog well prioritized. They delivered it at the end of iterations. But somehow, when you put everything together, it looked something like this. like random blocks in the random places. Yeah, we deliver, great, we're having great results, so let's go get another delivery for another 2 weeks, right? So it was scattered. The deliveries itself were really scattered, right? Also, when I talked, at the coffee or just in the meetings with some of the engineers especially, it felt like they are sort of in a factory, right? They had backlogs, they getting requests, what they need to do, they're doing it, they're releasing it, efficient, on time, on priority, all of this is good, but they release it, done. They take another piece of work, piece of feature they need to deliver, they do it, they release it, done. So it kind of felt like a feature factory, right? This is probably kind of a common thing right now. So the feature factory, they were really efficient at that, but they didn't felt basically the purpose, right? So, right, what the hell I'm doing there? It's also very hard for this company because we don't have a product here in Lithuania. Mobile Pay, I didn't introduce it in the very beginning. Mobile Pay basically is a mobile wallet and e-commerce service provider in Nordics. In Denmark, Finland, now we're merging with a Norwegian company, so we're sort of a market lead in Scandinavia. Beating all the Google and Apple at this moment. But here in Lithuania, we are a development hub. We have an operational side as well, but we don't have a product that we use, right? So we're pretty far away. We're not invested in a way as ourselves. We don't use it daily. We don't get to the friend where someone says, what kind of crap you're giving me here, right? So we don't have that. So so no sense of purpose in those teams as well, even though really good Scrum teams, once again. So I really wanted to change that. I wanted to make sure that those good deliveries they do sort of fit together in a nice block that at the end of the day gives value to the customer, right? So again, let's play some raising hand things. Who of you think you have a really good value deliveries, incremental value deliveries? The same row here. Where are you guys from? All right. So this was my purpose, to make sure we're not only good at delivering incrementally in the team level, but we're good at delivering value to the customer as a company, right? So this was one of my purposes. And of course, meanwhile, we have an aligned approach in the company. We have even had like funny situations where we were releasing some feature and then we're waiting like, okay, so now why no one's using it? And turns out marketing didn't get a message that we released this feature. So no one knows that we released this feature, kind of, all right, it's there, but users don't even know that there is a new functionality in the app, right? So we're misaligned, right? So I want to make sure that the whole company goes to the same direction and makes the same decision-based sort of a models. So, and of course, I want everyone to be happy. I want everyone to be invested. I want everyone in the from engineers to operational people to marketing to sales to understand the purpose of what we're doing here and how we're contributing to the better good of the company. So a genius solution, OKRs, came in, right? Who knows what OKRs are? Can you raise? There was a couple of sessions today already on that, right? So, so you're aware, yeah. So that's a method, that's a methodology, a method, a framework we can call it more probably than a method. But I just chose that. I chose to propose that, at least, to the company. I don't think this is the only thing you could have done, right? There are different sort of a goal-based approaches. There are, MBO and much more that you can, like, adhesive methodologies that you can look to. But somehow I've had some experience with OKR, so I just sort of stuck with it and proposed it to the company. So this should have solved everything. So I sit down, I made how this will be done in the company. We agreed. By the way, it took some time. We are a Scandinavian company. A lot of debates going on whether we should do it and how to do it and so on and so forth. So, it took good half a year probably to talk this through. Not really agile, but, well, needed to be done. And we made some agreements and, well, we launched it. We tried it for more than half a year. Somehow it didn't work that well. Now, I, as a coach, of course, were disappointed. I needed to step back and see, so, okay, what we've done wrong so that this doesn't fly that well. Well, I'm not saying it completely didn't work, but it didn't work to the extent at least I was expecting and probably, the company and the shareholders were expecting. So, a couple of lessons learned that sort of the mistakes we made. First of all, we very much focused on the developmental side of the organization, sort of where the engineers are, where the product people are, where the user experience and UI, UX are, but not where marketing and sales and the operational side sits, where in the end we need to deliver the value together, right? So this was the first mistake that I didn't put enough effort in making sure the whole company has a buy-in. I also we had a scattered understanding of what OKRs are. So I was the only one in the company who had some previous experience with OKRs. Again, not at that scope, not at that scale. My own experience wasn't that also good in a way, right? One of the first tries of implementing OKRs. So we needed to make sure that everyone understands it in the same way, and I'm alone, and there's a 400 people company. I cannot basically explain to every single person what it is, right? So that's a second thing. Third thing, if I would ask you how many goals your companies or teams has, what would you say? Too many. Yes, 3. Someone says 3. Who has more? Usually there's more somewhere, right? So we made a mistake. We after a long agreements, we had like 5 OKRs. So 5 objectives under which there are a number of OKRs. First lesson learned, that's clearly too much. Don't do that. 5 is too much. For having 5 objectives company-wide, other teams-wide, department-wide, doesn't matter where you look, it's too much. Try to stick to 1. Okay, do 2. Best case, worst case, do 3. If you cannot, find an agreement of whether or you are in a very hectic situation. So too many was also a thing. And then another very important lesson I learned that I focused also too much on teaching teams how to do it, and not teaching top managers of how to do it. I even had it, this funny situation where I came to some sort of a meeting with the top management, was there with the CEOs and all the others, and it was like, yeah. So can you teach this team more, and can you be more invested in here? And I was like, okay, but guys, how many company OKRs you have? Yeah, we have 5. Yeah, but that's wrong. Okay, yeah, but at the end of the day, it's the teams who do it, so we need to make sure they have good OKRs and so on. No. We need to make sure we start in the right place. So very, very important thing, and my lesson is that even teams and the lower levels, they get disappointed in a way if they don't see the good example by the sort of at the top objectives, right? If you have too much at the top, naturally at the bottom you will have probably dozens. Because everyone will, look at those couple of things and will try to see where they can, contribute and so on. So another big mistake we did, oh my God, I'm even embarrassed to tell that, we kept roadmaps. We kept various, high-level roadmaps. One thing that I really recommend you to do, it's okay to have a roadmap in the team level. You need to know what, basically the backlog and, maybe the quarterly plan, right? But that's for the team. This is not to be communicated somewhere and promised and committed and so on and so far. If you do OKRs, you commit to OKRs. That's not what you need to do to commit to the roadmaps. Roadmaps should go away. And we kept them. So people were sort of using their time to craft really great OKRs and do those all OKR sessions, but then at the end of the day someone was coming and asking, yeah, when this feature will be done, right? When we will have this release, and when we'll have this bug fixed, and someone from the marketing coming and saying to the development team that, yeah, I want you to do this to me, right? This is an item in your backlog now. So this is not how OKRs work. Clearly. A lot of you raised your hands saying that you know what OKRs are, so probably you know that already, but OKRs is a goal-based approach. So basically we're saying that we want you as a department, as a team, doesn't matter, and we want as a company to achieve this. We will measure this by these key results. This is how we will understand if this objective is reached by the end of the cycle you agreed or not. So this is how it works. No more someone comes up with the idea and goes and tells what to do. I mean, this should be sort of a live longer way, right? So just keep that in mind. Having high-level roadmaps, not a good idea. So we reiterated. First thing we did, actually, we hired more OKR consultants. Don't try to change the world by your own, right? That was my mistake. I thought I know OKRs well. I thought I can do it for everyone, and basically, frankly, I failed. So we hired more consultants. They sort of did huge training sessions for everyone with aligned approach. So now we all understand it in the same way, how it works and all of that. So onboarded basically the whole company, right? So we rebooted the rhythm. They told us what is the better rhythm, how it should look like, what kind of meetings and interactions we should do. The one thing we didn't do and started to do, for example, is to have a weekly OKR check-ins for the teams. OKRs are not something that you need to check in every quarter, and then basically you need to steer your teams. So basically doing weekly OKR check-ins, one of the things that we really were sort of successful afterwards with. So rebooted the rhythm and established those limits on the priorities I mentioned, right? So we said at that point no more than 3. Now we're leaning it to even have less, right? So no more than 3 per unit that we're talking about. If you're a team, no more than 3. If you're a company, no more than 3, and so on. Even though top managers always want to say, yeah, but there's also an HR part. We want to make employees happy. That's one objective. Then we want to take this new market. Then we want to make sure we have quality, and so on, so far. And everything is an equal priority, exactly. So at the top, also, not more than 3. If you have 1, that's best. So yeah, it went better, much better, I should say, but without mistakes. So a second set of mistakes we sort of and lessons we've got was that consultants, they came, they trained, they did a great job, they created sort of a framework for us. That was fine, but if for that to work, teams need sort of a daily interactions, right? They need someone to lead them. The same with the Scrum Master being in a team for Scrum implementation, right? You cannot just train the team and expect they to do everything well. So we didn't have that. As I mentioned, I stayed, but I mean, I'm focused elsewhere, right? So another thing, we managed to do the top-down alignment pretty well. So basically, the objectives were connected pretty well from those 3 layers. We had 3 layers: company, department, team. So this connection was pretty good. We tried to nail it pretty well, but in sort of in between the departments, in between the different units, we still had a bit of a siloed approach. We still had some problems where we didn't manage to agree well, and the rhythm didn't empower us that well. So we also, made this mistake that, and it probably came because of, teams didn't have enough knowledge. Basically, what they did was having these discovery. Who knows what is discovery and delivery OKRs? The difference between the two: discovery OKRs, delivery OKRs. Okay, not that much. Very brief lesson. Discovery OKR is where you think what you need to do in order to achieve your OKRs. Delivery OKRs is when you simply need to fix something and you know that, right? I don't know, something's not working, you know that you have a quarter to fix it. It's basically delivery OKR. There's nothing to discover, you just need to do it, right? Sometimes those kind of things appear. But we have too much of discovery, not enough delivery. That's where we needed to make sure we fit well. So we reiterated once again one thing that was really successful, and I definitely propose of thinking of doing something like that, whether delegating it to the Scrum Masters, Agile coaches, or having someone in the team be the OKR champions. We branded them OKR champions. So we trained at least one person in the team to be better than the others. Created a community, a guild if you wish. They work together pretty well to again align on the practices and then get this message throughout the teams. So introducing that to the very sort of a team level, that was something we definitely won on. We involved every part of the organization, and we mapped who is dependent on whom. Right, which maybe development team is dependent of what kind of marketing or sales teams, and maybe operational teams, and who are the stakeholders that need to be in the OKR sessions of those teams. So basically we map that, and now when we do crafting, it's not only the team, it's also the stakeholders that need to be there, that they sort of make an input, at least in the beginning, then the team works out the OKRs themselves. We need to make sure we're aligned, And we know that, if we're delivering something, marketing is ready for that, sales is ready for that, and the operational side, and we agree on those priorities, and we agree that this is how we will achieve those priorities, right? So this was an important part. And of course, as with Agile, it's very much about the mindset. Especially in some managers, right? Whenever when you have that habit that, the tick in your head that you need to go to ask for something to be delivered, you want to tell others that I want this or this feature, this is the mindset that, enough. And I had really, really hard time actually working with, together with the product managers, product owners, and some top stakeholders that were coming still to the product owners, product managers, telling them that, I want this, I want that, I want that. I had really hard time getting into the same meetings and say, no, you can't tell them that. You can't tell what you want. Tell us what you need to achieve, right? Tell us what the result you expect, what the customer will get from it, right? We had examples that, one of the stakeholders and one of the team were asking that, well, I want this feature, this is very important to see this data and be able to analyze it and, make decisions based on this data. And, the team made an estimation that it's, like 4 months of development in order for this to work and so on and so far. So, and at the end of the day, I asked, okay, why you want to do this? Well, I want to, have this data in order to, this and that, and basically draw the conclusion that someone from the team, yeah, but, we have this mixed panel. Basically, the whole data is there where I can just, tailor some things like in 2 hours. Would that be okay? Yeah, okay, so the development time suddenly went down from 4 months to 2 hours. That's basically a power of objective instead of, what I want to do, but, what I want to achieve kind of a thinking. So, so this was the journey, and we're still on the journey, right? We're still on the journey. We understand we're on the journey, and it's a living organism. The company is a living organism, and of course the practices itself, is also evolving, and the needs and the priorities, everything's changing. So basically, we need to make sure we change as well. So there might be more lessons, like if I do similar presentation in 2 years or something, there might be much more lessons that I can tell probably. But I advise you to start, and those key takeaways I have is that, first of all, first thing to learn is that if you have good agile deliveries, if you have good deliveries from the teams, it doesn't mean that you're an agile company. Sometimes just look very critical at yourself and just ask yourself whether, this is an actual result that we're achieving and whether this creates value. This is sort of a business agility talk, right? Instead of having agile teams, let's have agile business. So this is the one key message I want to sort of leave you with. Also, OKRs, yes, it's one of the methods. We need to understand it works as a system. It's not a one team thing. Someone, figured out this will be a great thing. It needs to be, well, if not a company-wide, if you have isolated units that are really independent, right, then maybe it could work there. But I would say it needs to be sort of a company-wide agreement of how to do things. Otherwise, things will come from different places and you will be in the same mess. Also, focusing on outcomes and outputs, it's the key. Why we want to do it, what we want to solve, instead of what needs to be done specifically. This is the talk that you need to make sure to do. Am I okay with the time? I'm looking. All right. And then limiting your priorities, right? So limiting your priorities is something that that basically creates the focus. Otherwise, we're scattering, and everything is a priority. It's the saying that, you need to cut some trees to make others grow better, right? So this is what you need to make to priorities. And when I was in some of the, one of the very first sessions, I was told by the consultants, you need to be bold with, not letting a lot of priorities come and so on and so far. And everyone, trust me, everyone wants to chip in some more important work, some more important, the achievements, objectives you want to do. Every unit wants to be there. It's a matter of saying that, okay, it is important. Out of these 4, 5, 7, whatever mentioned, choose 3 that is most important. And I always like do this question, and I always try to, you know, challenge stakeholders with that. So I sort of propose you do the same if you want to create this focus. This creates focus, this creates meaning, and the meaning creates more, at the end of the day, even motivation to the companies. This is where I will leave you, but I will leave you with some time, I guess, for the questions. Really, because a lot of you raised your hands. When I ask whether you know OKRs, what is OKRs, really expecting some interesting discussions, maybe even here.
Be active. A lot of gifts. It's waiting for you.
I see too. So do they need a mic or can just
Provide it?
How long ago you started this journey?
Yeah, this journey started the very specific story like a year and a half ago.
So, and one iteration took around
so the first iteration took something about, and I mean this 1.5 years after we started, right? So first iteration took like, we realized something's wrong after the first quarter. We have a cycle of quarters, so after 3 months, then it took some time to rebuild things. So basically, first iteration you can say took up to like half a year. The second one took something similar, and now we're just continuing with the third one, if you may.
Great, and we have a second question.
So when implementing OKRs, what did you see as the main advantage of it, and what did you see as the main drawback of it?
Yeah. Well, the advantages, I believe, I try to highlight a couple of times, right? So first of all, it's the outcome thinking, it's the creativity and sort of a relation, because OKRs have done well. They have this alignment cycle that you need to have a clear understanding of how the thing you do today, basically the key result of your team, contribute to the objective of a company, right? So this is the clear path. So it creates meaning. Basically understand why you do this, what at the end of the day this will create. Creativity in problem solving. It's no more, you know, do this, but solve this problem. Motivation. This is what, at least in the teams I saw, when they are allowed to experiment and allowed to look for solutions instead of do what they are told, that's much more motivating than just, you know, being a feature factory in the, as I mentioned in the beginning. And the drawbacks, well, I would say, well, first of all, from the perspective of the management, you need to let go of the handlebars a bit, right? You need to trust that the bike will steer itself to a degree. And you only need to be there if you need to make sure, if you see that the bike is going somewhere down the road, right? So this, of course, creates risks that someone is doing something that, you know, it's not actually the best, even though if you trust the company, if you trust the teams, they should. But at the end of the day, you sort of have a risk that there will be some sort of experiments there and there and there and there, and you're not in complete control of everything what's going on in the company. So if you're okay with that, then I think it's not a big deal, but it could be an issue. And then, of course, a lot of issues arise if you do it wrong. So all the lessons I told, it's because, you know, we did it wrong. It's not because OKRs are a bad thing per se, right? So so I think these could be mentioned as potential drawbacks. No.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, so, you know, what's next, or how you've planned to make it better further?
Yeah, that's a good question. Next is that, well, the situation we are in the company is that we're merging with another company. So next is completely rebuilding everything to match the other companies, also cycles and everything. So, but that's because the situation is like that, right? I think that next step would naturally be just see what's working, what's not, gathering feedback. That's an important part, actually. I worked a lot to get feedback from the teams, from, you know, the people on the in the front, basically what's working, what you like, what you not like, what other problems, to the top management, right? So basically knowing what's cooking, getting the feedback, and then reacting. So it's an iterative thing, as you would do with anything agile, right? So there could be various lessons that you could see.
Okay, thanks. You mentioned about around 2 years or so in this journey.
Yeah, give or take.
Yeah. And when could you say that you got some positive feedback that yeah, you are on a good track from the stakeholders, from teams? How much time did it take?
I think we got some positive feedback from the very beginning. I mean, it wasn't that everything's bad; it's only bad, so cut it basically. We just got a lot of development points, you can say. But the mindset when people saw where this should lead, they bought into that. We just sort of understood that we need to find a way to make sure it fits that specific company. Again, I'm sharing a story of one specific company. Then I did OKRs with other clients as well. So it might be different problems or challenges you're solving. So this is just a journey that I wanted to have you with, because a lot of those lessons usually repeats. A lot of those mistakes usually repeats.
If I may, one more, and it might be a bit personal.
Do you have enough presents for him?
Sorry. Yeah, just what was the gratification point for you as a coach? When did you feel that you are getting some positivity for yourself personally?
So as a coach, as I mentioned, after the first iteration, I didn't felt well. I didn't felt it worked well. I felt that there is a lot of things to do. After second one, I really felt that things are going to the right direction. And then I hear these stories that I've just told, the mixed panel and so on. When I go around the floor, these things motivate. Then you understand that this is why we're going through this journey. This is where we want to sort of have much more of those success stories, right? So I think it was somewhere there.
Great. Oh, so many questions. I think a few more.
Maybe I missed that. You have mentioned that, okay, we don't need a roadmap, but actually, do you have like OKRs set some priority or some roadmap? Because you have three, so in this case, you can have what one goal is achieved, but two ones are simply forgot.
That's how the system works. The one that and now I would need to go into the details of how it works, but this is an alignment. So how it basically works, I see I have some time, so I can go into those details. So basically, how the regular cycle looks like is that we start earlier with the top management. Let's say in the cycle, right? We have a couple of interactions. We discuss and we agree what is the objectives of the company for an upcoming 3 months. We also have with the company, we have the sort of a yearly achievements we want to do, but we draw what are the objectives for the next 3 months. Then we go to talk to sort of the department level, if you can call it like that. We call it tribes, but basically a department level where we also say, okay, these are the objectives with the results that the company wants to achieve. And this is worked out with the sort of C-level managers, right? Then those C-level managers, they take those and go with their departments, and they say, okay, let's think how we can contribute to make sure this is achieved. Then they think of some OKRs, right? Some achievements with some key results, basically how it needs to do. Then we take those and give it to the teams. Basically, teams take it and say, okay, so how we can make sure we contribute to those objectives of our department, right? We know the company, we know the department. Let's think of our team ones. Then we create our team OKRs, and then the alignment process kicks in, where we sort of go bottom up, because during the crafting, each level is allowed not only to think of how I will achieve this objective, but allowed to create an objective that they think is important, even though it does not contribute nowhere there. They just need to have arguments for they're doing it, right? Why it is important. And then the alignment process kicks in when we go bottom up and say, okay, these are the team's OKRs. We all come together. Do we make sure that collective set of those OKRs will make sure that departmental OKRs are achieved? Yes or no? Something's missing, something's too much, something's not enough. Maybe there are so important things that need to become a department OKR. Some teams draw some important stuff and understood some important objectives, but for it to happen, we need to involve the whole, let's say, department, and even coordinate with someone from other areas. If yes, then after some back and forth, we go to the company and say, okay, this is how we will contribute to it. Then we look whether, the collective set of those departmental OKRs, make sure we, deliver on the company OKRs, and maybe something's too much, something's not enough, and so on. And at some point, even the company quarterly OKRs changes throughout this process, right? So, we just see that this is, the things that we want to do will not make sure this key result will be done. So maybe we as a company need to think of whether it's worth changing it. Maybe it's not the time. Maybe we don't have enough, resources at this point, or basically we're just too invested in someone else. So it could be that, all levels changes throughout the alignment process. And, after the alignment process, we have sort of what we say it's sort of agreed OKRs, right? So everyone's invested in those. Yeah. So you as a team can, contribute only to one, right? Departmental OKR can say, okay, we see that this is where we will sort of focus, but we'll do this through, two maybe of our own objectives or so on. That could be. Someone can say, yeah, we have an objective that does not contribute to any of those. That could happen. We just want to make sure they have arguments, and this is sort of agreed if that happens.
Yeah, and I think that Gražvydas explained a lot about it. And in case you have more questions or want to know more in depth, I think that you can meet our Gražvydas outside of his hall and just talk about it. And right now, how much time do we have, Gražvydas?
We have 9 minutes, if you say.
Okay.
Do we have questions from Huva?
Yeah, I think that the last question from the audience, and then we move to Huva.
All right.
Do we have? Oh, yeah, in front, even here.
Just thanks for the great presentation, Gražvydas. Really nice that you share with us. Just from my experience, when we started to implement OKRs, I faced an issue that basically if I go with quarterly goals, at some point we missed the long-term goals. And I found team in a place where when the bigger items just doesn't fit into a quarter, and they actually are left behind. So basically we go get a lot of small things into the quarter just to impact the final key results. And what would you advise to do with the bigger items which would require maybe 3 quarters only to complete, and then you will get the results? Maybe you have some experience with that.
Yeah, we actually solved that as well. That was one of the questions or issues you can say at some point raised as well. What any kind of agile coach or scrum master would do with, if the team says, yeah, we need 3 sprints to deliver this feature, what do? You think of how you can sort of cut it to make sure we deliver value. That's why we try to do with the objective. Okay, that's fine. We want at the end, we have yearly also things we want to do. We want to, go into this new market, take this new market. This doesn't, happen through the quarter usually. So let's understand that. But what, in order to make sure we, in a year be in this market, what we will do this quarter, what will be the objective saying that, we're closer to this market, and how we'll measure it. So basically, and that sometimes deliveries takes longer. It doesn't mean that the OKRs delivery sometimes can take longer than the OKRs are done. So if in a way you have a quarterly OKRs and you know that the delivery takes a lot of time, we just try to have an objective. So what will we want to achieve in order to think how this big delivery can be chopped then in order to have at least some value out after the quarter, in a way. So, but I had a lot of those questions as well, during the process where people, okay, we have very long deliveries, yeah, but, make them smaller. Let's make sure we deliver at least some value.
Last question from our audience.
Hi, Gražvydas. My question would be, you mentioned you had like 2 iterations and most probably, if I'm not mistaken, 2, approaches to OKRs, implementing them, right? 2 different approaches trying to get them in place.
I think, you could say we even had like.
Then the question is, what are the most common mistakes when you try to implement them? What would you give advice not to do when you're starting with OKRs? Because you will definitely step into the shit.
Yeah, so those I try to actually those piles of shit try definitely to mention in the lessons. I think the one thing is misalignment in the organization is the one thing that you will definitely face as a struggle at least, so that everyone understands and connects with each other. That's needed, right? And no one will want to come and ask for something else. Right, so basically that you agree. So that's one. Another one, it's too many of OKRs, too many objectives with too much key results, and then that's also could be a struggle. The third thing is definitely the common understanding in the organization. So what a good OKRs look like. Right, so that's why we at some point, made those OKR champions that sort of as the spiders need to create those webs and so on, right? Because what a good OKRs are, it's also basically, books that you can read about how to formulate OKRs in the right way. They need to be, ambitious, and key results needs to have numerical values and all of those things, right? So those are basically details. So making sure everyone gets that, it's also something that you will struggle, depending on your company size, of course. But if you are bigger than, let's say, 100 and plus, then one of the major problems probably you will face.
Thank you. Quite interesting question from Huva. Same says OKRs are tool. Others says it's methodology. What are OKRs?
Yeah, neither. I think it's very similar as we talk about Agile, right? It's sort of a framework. Sometimes you can even call it a philosophy, but it's more of a framework because there are a lot of different OKR branches that you can read about. There are flow OKRs that you can talk with Jürgen about. He sort of promoted that at some point. There are win with OKRs one. Then there are lean OKRs. That's another one. I mean, there's a lot of different sort of schools of how good OKRs look like. But generally, this is a framework of making sure sort of that you base your planning of the company goal-wise, objective-wise, not specific delivery-wise.
There is a question from product owner, and there is already one reply, so I skip to second question. It's related with your answer. How sync or align between quarterly OKRs and company strategy?
And that's a very good question, actually, because one thing we even realized that we have a too extensive company strategy. We have like 7 strategic priorities that we want to do in a number of years and so on. That's also sort of when we started to do OKRs, we even realized our strategy was a bit of too wide. But how it should sync, so definitely when the top team starts OKR crafting, they need to think of their strategy, right? So objectives that the top leadership wants to achieve need to go to the direction of the strategy, right? So that's how it basically syncs, right? So if you don't think about it, then you either don't need one or the other. So.
Perfect management of time, I would say.
Okay. Can I do one cheap trick? I really, there is the saying that if you're not now on the social networks, you're not in the conference. I want to make sure everyone knows I was there. Can you smile and wave? Smile and wave.
Wow.
All right.
You
Thanks,
are perfect.
guys.
Thank you. Thank you, Greg.
By the way, yeah, find me on LinkedIn. I'm always keen on sharing and talking and connecting. So or catch me up here. I also host those podcasts here at Agile Sofos. If someone wants to take a seat, you're welcome. Thanks. Yeah. Look for the orange shirt.
And
yes.
now some gifts from Agile Lietuva team, and our partners Present Connection. Everyone who participated, I am asking to and inviting to fill in Menti4Com form. The number is on our wall.